Hey there. Not so long ago, it would have been unthinkable to me to record those videos or to write publicly on the internet. I had so many questions, such as what if people that know me find me? Or, yeah, wouldn't be that embarrassing? Or what if I make mistakes? And so on. These and many other questions filled my mind with fear and anxiety. Nowadays, I don't have this problem, as you can see. So the question is, what changed? And thinking about that, I came up with a very simple yet extremely powerful idea that I want to share with you today that can change your life if you really embody, if you really understand what I'm talking about. And the concept is to not take yourself too seriously. And I will explain what it is, but let me start with a very simple personal story to illustrate this concept, because for me at least, I used to take myself and my life too seriously, and this created a lot of fear, a lot of pain, and suffering. And maybe you can also relate to this story or to different aspects of life on which you also take yourself too seriously. So for me, for example, I used to put a lot of weight in my academic skills or academic performance and my intellect and my work. So that's, I mean, there is nothing wrong with working a lot per se, but the problem is that I used to work from a place of fear because I was afraid of failing or not being good enough, and this creates a lot of pressure and fear. And you, whatever you do, if you do it from a place of fear, you may do the same thing, but depending on where it comes, if it comes from a place of fear, you won't be satisfied and fulfilled. And that was what's happening to me. So indeed, a very good test to see whether what you do in life, you do you are doing you are taking this too seriously or not, is if whatever you do comes from give you positive emotions or negative emotions. That means whatever you do it because you want to feel positive emotions or because you want to avoid feeling negative emotions. That's a good question. So let me give some examples. So let's say you go often to the gym. Do you do it because you love going to the gym, you love the feeling of the workout or how you feel after going to the gym, or is because you are afraid of getting fat or losing muscle? Another situation is, let's say you are a workaholic, you work a lot. Do you do it because you love what you do, is your passion, or because you are afraid of being outcompeted by others? Let's say that you are into self-improvement. Do you do it because you want to reach your full potential and you love the feeling of getting better every day and reducing improving your quality of life, or because someone told you you should do it and you feel pressure to do it because everyone is doing it or whatever? And another example, if you eat healthy, do you do it because you like the way eating healthy feels, because you feel lighter or with more energy, or again because you are afraid of gaining weight? So you can see there are many questions you can apply to your life to see what are your motivations. That's what this video boils down to. Ask yourself the motivations, because you can do whatever you do, you can usually do it from either a place of positive or negative emotions, and it may not sounds like too much of a difference, but it can have a huge impact on your life. And in general, I would say that whenever you are coming from a place of fear, is because you are taking your life in this regard or yourself too seriously. So let me give you some more examples. So let's say you are afraid of approaching a girl or a guy that you may like, um, and you are afraid because you may fear being rejected or being mocked or ridiculed. Another example is that you may be fearful of changing careers because what others will say about that. People may criticize you, or you may, I don't know, lose your reputation, for example. You may be scared of expressing your opinions again because others may criticize you or may find your ideas weird or crazy. Another example is that you resist changing your views in life because of, of fear, of losing your reputation or others laughing at you. That may be another example, especially if you have held some opinion for a long time. It can be pretty scary to change your views right away, because usually people have certain opinions about you, certain image about you, and if you change all of a sudden, people will feel very strange about you. And the last example I have here is that you don't want to do radical but necessary changes in your life because you have always done things in a certain way. So as you see, I hope that you see there is a pattern here, and the pattern is that we usually tend to do things in a certain way because that's the way we always done things, and this creates a pattern, and patterns usually, once they're established, are quite difficult to change. And in this case, I'm talking about patterns in your personality, your identity, that makes who you are. And it's very easy to get attached to this sort of pattern, but this is just a pattern and you can change it at any time. And that's more or less what we're going to talk about here, how to let loose a little bit this pattern, because if you want to change your life, if you want to improve yourself, you need to be able to let go of your own patterns and acquire new patterns or no patterns at all. So, and that changing process, in a sense, requires that you will make the fool a lot of times. You will make mistakes. That's part of the process, and you need to be okay with that. And that's why I want to make this video, because in the past, personally, I used to be quite afraid of making bold changes because I used to do things in a certain way, and if I change, then maybe people will think I'm acting differently or stuff like that. So that was a very a factor that stopped myself of growing, of changing and doing the necessary changes. So this the common denominator here is this sort of we get stuck in patterns. We fall in love with those patterns and we don't let them go. So I want to explain a little bit how our minds protects our identity. I think that is huge to understand why this works or how things work, why we tend to get attached to our sense of self, to our identity. I think that's very important, because when we understand how our mind creates and protects this self, this identity that we take too seriously, we can use this to let go of it and become the best version of yourself. So alright, so I would say that at least 99.9% of the population feel very attached to their identity, and by identity here I mean a set of beliefs, values, and personality traits that make you who you are. Probably all of us in a certain degree have a sense of self. If you describe yourself, you will give certain characteristics, certain beliefs or opinions or views, and that makes who you are, right? And in principle there is nothing wrong with that, but the problem is that we get too attached to this, to this identity, and this identity creates this attachment to identity creates suffering. And to determine, for example, if you are too attached to your identity, there is a very simple question you can ask yourself, and the question is, have you feel triggered recently by other people, for example, or by certain external circumstances? And if the answer is yes, and if you are like a healthy, psychologically healthy person, not someone that has some disorder such as PTSD, for example, and then you are too attached to your identity and this part of yourself, you may be too serious about that. So, for example, for me, I used to feel triggered when someone questioned my life choices, whatever that means. And physically, I felt this as intense gut feeling, like a very strong gut feeling, like a tension. And psychologically, I would get very defensive. I would try to defend my point of view, and I would lose my shit, right, and my temper. That's not a good place to be. You get like too emotional, and you cannot. You just react. You don't behave in a very proactive way or a very rational way. When you get defensive, when you get triggered, you just try to use whatever you have at your disposal. And those triggers are automatic. It's not something that you can control. At least they just came whenever something that felt threatened to my identity occur. So at least I don't know how this can be avoided. All you can do is to try, once they get there, is try to, I don't know, try to be more mindful, trying to be in the present moment and not go overboard. But the occurrence of those triggers are automatic. They are subconscious. There is not something you can control. So, and what happens is that your subconscious mind is sort of creating this alert that you are being attacked in a sense. Your psychological self is being attacked when someone criticizes you, for example, or someone laugh at you. For example, you may feel triggered, you may get angry, defensive, because what happens is that your subconscious mind, it's a very it's most of our psyche really is subconscious, create this alert that you are being in danger in a sense, and you try to protect, and because what's being in danger in this case is this sense of you, your identity. So that's what your mind is trying to protect. So all these trigger mechanisms are survival mechanisms, the same way that when you, I don't know, of course in cities you don't see like bears or big animals, but sometimes you see like a dangerous situation, your body behaves automatically, tries to avoid this danger. The same way works with your psychological body in a sense. Your mind, whatever feels that your identity is being threatened, it creates those defense mechanisms to protect it. So, and in a sense it's necessary, because if you don't have this sense of identity at all, you wouldn't care if you are dead or not. I mean, you wouldn't care. So a basic sense of self is necessary to stay alive. The problem is that when you extend this sense of self to opinions, to worldviews, and you identify with them. When you identify with them, this becomes part of who you are, and as such, whenever this part of you feels threatened, your subconscious mind will attack and try to protect it, right? So, and that's very important to understand, because if we can grasp this concept, um, this will be very useful, because you have to understand that, okay, this is necessary in a sense for surviving, but if we want to change who you are, if you want to improve it, to reach your full potential, you will need to change it. Otherwise you wouldn't do self-improvement, right? If your life is perfect, you don't try to change it. So all of us have traits or beliefs or opinions that we want to change or remove from our lives. Therefore, we need to be okay with. It will be almost inevitable to get those triggering feelings if we are attached to them. So it's important to understand how this works, because whenever they occur, we know that it's not like someone is attacking us, but it's our subconscious mind that is creating those defense mechanisms, and we can act from a more higher point of view, in a sense. So that's the key to understand this mechanism. So now the question is how we can use that to stop being too serious about ourselves, to stop taking things too personally. So I want to mention this explanation, because it will be key to learn how to stop that, because it's a quite long process. I mean, one won't be very fast, but it's a lifelong process to remove those triggers. So, and there is a concept here that is very important to understand, and is the concept of equilibrium. And we as humans, each one of us is an extremely complex mechanism, and as such tries to stay in equilibrium. It doesn't want to change too much, because it creates problems. Our minds, our bodies stays in a very precise equilibrium at all times. Like, for example, temperature. We keep a temperature that's pretty constant, no matter if it is like 40 degrees or 0 degrees outside, because otherwise our bodies wouldn't function properly. And the same with nutrients, with whatever, oxygen, you name it. And the same happens with our psychological being. It tries to stay in equilibrium, doesn't want to change like too much too rapidly, otherwise it would create disbalance and dysfunctions. So that's a very necessary mechanism, but again, if we want to change some of those mechanisms, there will be some resistance, some backlash from the system. And this also applies to not only to us, but also to societies, to a group of people, and that's even more complicated, because societies are even more difficult to change, cultures and such. That's why usually it takes so long to big groups of societies to change their worldviews, because it's not, already for one person to change their worldview can take a lot of effort and a lot of pain. So imagine how difficult it will be for a whole society to change. So that concept is extremely important to understand why it takes so long for countries, for societies to implement changes, because there is a lot of resistance, and you can see in yourself that there is a lot of resistance to change yourself. Alright, so that was a small tangent I want to mention, because I think it's extremely important to understand this concept. And so the key here is to be learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. that's how we uh, change really, and how we remove those patterns that we want to change. And that's the key here, to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, or in other words, to be okay to be outside of comfort zone. And of course this is not nice, and that's why it's so difficult to change, because being outside of comfort zone uh, is not a nice feeling. But I want to make you an analogy, and is analogy for, let's say that this will be easier to understand people that go to the gym, or people that try to go to the gym or do some sort of sport. And when you go to the gym, at first, I mean, there is some pain. Of course, there's this famous phrase, no pain, no gain, right? So there is some truth behind this, because when you go to the gym, of course, if you want to gain muscle, it's not enough just to go to the gym. You need to train hard, and a lot of people in the gym, they look the same after year and year, and the reason of that is because they're not, well, maybe their nutrition is not good enough, but a lot of this is because people don't push themselves hard enough. They do the same weights over and over again. They don't do progressive overload, so they don't increase the weights or the sets or the reps over time, and the body is not for the body is not anymore a challenge the way they're pushing. So if you want to get it stronger, you need to push hard, and there will be some resistance, there will be some pain, and you need to push through this pain. And at first it's really difficult. If you haven't experienced that, it's painful, it doesn't feel good. But once you start feeling seeing the results, and after months of going to the gym, and you start slowly over time to getting more comfortable with this pain, and at some point you start looking for that pain, because you know that when you reach this point you will start to make the gains. I mean, most of the gains are in those last reps before going to failure. So this analogy works very well with getting out of your comfort zone, because at first will be very uncomfortable and will be psychologically painful. You will get fearful, you will get all these negative emotions. But if you start doing this repeatedly, and you keep the difficulty low at the beginning, and slowly over time you start increasing the difficulty, then you will, as soon as you start seeing the results, you will get a feeling of this is good for me. Whenever I feel this uncomfortable feeling in my gut or in my body, that means that I'm getting closer to my results. So it is really a reframing of the emotion, from being a negative emotion that you want to escape to being an emotion that you want to embrace. And that's the key here. So for getting out of your comfort zone, the best one of the best strategies I think is to start small, to start with things that are mildly uncomfortable but not too much, and once this is second nature, just start increasing the difficulty and so on. And in this way as you see that things work, because at first you don't know really. You may be very afraid, you don't have like a result, you don't have any proof that what I'm saying is true. So you all what you will have are fears and anxiety, and you won't want to do that. So it's good to start with something very small and see that it's not that bad really. Even if you fail, it's not that terrible. And again, it's this process of taking it lightly, don't take it too seriously. Like, even if you are ridiculed, I mean, so what? You're not that special anyways. So that's the sense that you need to develop, and it takes time. It's not just about hearing me say this. It's something that you have to see by yourself. That's what life's about, to uh, put in practice whatever you learn. Otherwise it's not real learning, it's just mental masturbation. So at first, again, you won't have any proof, so you won't have any results, so you have to start, you can start very small and then see, oh yeah, this works, or this is not that bad, or whatever. You will feel very good with yourself the first times you do those things, those uncomfortable things, and at some point it will be second nature. You won't feel any fear, and then you can increase the stake and repeat the process. It's an iterative process. So that's the way getting out of your comfort zone works. At first, for example, before recording those videos, at first I used to get a little bit nervous, and now it's like nothing. That's the way it works. And the same can be said to any sort of skill or situation. So another point I want to mention to help yourself to take yourself less seriously is to get into some sort of meditative or mindfulness practice. And this may be unrelated, but it's very important, because as I mentioned before, your mind creates all these mechanisms, these defense mechanisms, and by doing some sort of meditation or mindfulness, you learn to recognize that your mind in general, not only when you are feeling threatened, but all the time is creating thoughts and images and thinking, and it's outside of you. Really, it's not that you, most of the time, it's not that you control the thoughts. Especially if you're in meditation, you want to quiet your mind, and thoughts come to you. It's like, where do these thoughts come from? So it's not that you create them, in a sense. They come from your subconscious mind. So learning that those thoughts are, in a sense, outside of you are very important, because by meditation you learn to detach from those thoughts that you may be identified with. You may be attached to those thoughts. So then when you are in a situation, in a uncomfortable situation, and your mind starts to create all these images or all those thought patterns, you realize, oh, this is just my mind creating those. It's not like this is not reality, this is just my mind likes to create all this. So by meditation, you learn that the way your mind works in a very empirical way. And also, if you do a lot of meditation, your mind by default start to get more quiet over time, which may help with reducing those uncomfortable thoughts and images that you may have when you're facing a difficult situation. And the last point I want to mention to how to stop taking yourself too seriously, and is that sometimes in life there will be situations where difficult situations that you may not like. Those will be situations that will be difficult for you, and they will cause a lot of fear and anxiety. And what we do usually is to try to escape from them, or we distract ourselves from those situations. I used to do that a lot also in the past, but what I suggest is, instead of escaping from them as you usually do, is to try to embrace them and to face the fear directly, because I see those opportunities really as learning opportunities. I'm not saying that you should try to go and get into dangerous situations or fearful situations. I mean, in a sense, I'm saying that in the first point, but in a more controlled way. But sometimes shit happens, and you get into situations that are very uncomfortable. You get a lot of a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and those are, in my opinion, great opportunities for growth, because whenever you are suffering, whenever you are in pain, ask yourself, what part of me is being threatened? Or whenever you feel triggered by someone or for some external circumstances, you can ask yourself, during or after the situation, you can ask yourself, what part of me is being threatened? Can I let go of this? And maybe you can let go. If the pain is too much, maybe your subconscious mind will be able to let go of this, and you will be free of this uh, of this conditioning, of this suffering, if you can let go of that. And I think that this is a very underestimated tool for personal growth, because it's painful. And again, I'm not saying that you should like go and look for extremely painful situations, because you may not be you may not handle them properly. That's why I recommend a more gradual approach. But sometimes in life you will face painful situations, difficult situations, that you can either escape from them or try to face them directly. And what I'm trying to tell you is that next time, and not always, but whenever you feel a situation that's very uncomfortable to you, maybe a difficult conversation, or you have to make a decision, and you know that you have to make a decision but you don't want to make it, let's try to do what you know you have to do but you don't want to do because it's uncomfortable. Try it once or twice. I mean, you don't have to do it every time, but what I learned is that those opportunities, especially those that produce you a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of pain and suffering, those opportunities can be the catalyst for personal growth that no book and no self-improvement guru will give you. I mean, again, this is not something that you have to see by yourself, and that's the difficult part. All when trying to, I hope that the point of making those videos is that you become aware of that, because in the past I used to face situations and I didn't know what to do. I used to escape, but once I learned that I can use these opportunities to grow, now it's like quite the opposite. I'm looking for, it's not like I'm looking to do it like a stupid, but whenever a situation comes to me that's uncomfortable, I tell to myself, this is great, because this is opportunity for growth. And it's a reframing that change the way you respond to the same situation, because the situation is the same, hasn't changed, but what changes the attitude and your answer, and that's the key for, in my opinion, to rapid self-improvement. That will be faster than any course that you take, any guru, any book. This is very simple, but it will be very scary, of course, but in my opinion, that's one of the easiest way to really grow personally. And especially when you hit rock bottom, I think that when you hit rock bottom in life, when you are miserable, when you are thinking of ending everything, in a sense that's the opportunities for biggest growth, because when you hit rock bottom, really you don't care about, really you don't have much to lose, and those opportunities can be extremely powerful to change yourself radically, because you don't care really about what others will think. You won't care about your image, because you are so at the bottom that everything really can get better. Well, no matter what you do, things can get better. So again, I'm not encouraging you to hit rock bottom, but I think that all of us have experienced situations where we are very down and we are very depressed, very suicidal, and of course that's I know that's very difficult to see life in a positive way in those situations. But sometimes you are so fed up with life, it's like, okay, I don't care anymore, so let's try something new. And those can be extremely powerful opportunities for growth. And there is a phrase of Freud, supposedly, that I really like, and is, quote, one day, in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. And from my experience, this sentence is 100% truth. However, you have to figure out by yourself that this is the case. So in this video, I try to convince you that to get a little bit more comfortable with getting out of your comfort zone, and different tools that can be useful, like the more gradual approach, and also using difficult situations for personal growth. This is very counterintuitive because you want to escape from them, right? But it can be very powerful. And also the mindfulness meditation approach to recognize in a sense your true identity. This is a little bit more esoteric, but can be very useful, at least to quiet your mind and learn to differentiate the thoughts that comes in a sense from your subconscious mind, and you don't have much control from your conscious thought. So I think those three tools can be applied in a lot of situations, and you can really improve your life significantly and very fast. This doesn't take that long, but you need to be courageous and maybe have the right mindset, and that's what I want to share in this video, because again, the same situations in life you can approach them in many ways. And if you take this point of view that using those difficult situations as opportunities, not as a way of escaping them, you can get massive results in your personal growth. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope you liked the video. If that's the case, hit like and subscribe to get more self-improvement, personal growth content that really works, and not just mentally masturbate watching videos. I think that I used to make this mistake in the past of consuming a lot of content and not applying, but that's just a huge waste of time, because you will think you do change, but it's just bullshit. And nowadays, in a sense, I consume less content but applying more, because I think that's the way it really should be. It should be like 90% practice, 10% theory. And don't let me wrong, the theory is important, because if you don't have the right theory, you may make silly mistakes. So the foundational content, the foundational principles, like the ones I'm shooting here in those videos, in my opinion, are very important, are necessary to refrain your mind and to convince yourself to start taking the right action. But then you have to do the action. You cannot just stay, and that's what's the mistake I used to do, or I used to make, that I used to just get with the theory, with the concepts, and they were clear in my mind in a sense, but I still was miserable sometimes because I wasn't taking action. So I hope that you don't commit the same mistake and change your life and stop suffering, because I mean, life is beautiful, and if I hope that I can irradiate this sense of beauty for life, because I think that that's very important. And yeah, stop feeling fear and suffering. So the concepts are very simple, but it takes a lot of emotional labor to go through them. But that's why those videos are here, to support you, to help you, and help us to try to reach our full potential in life, because I think that's all what really matters. AI will take over the world and jobs in the future, so all what it remains is to try to be the best person we can. And I'm not talking about success or fame or money. I'm talking about being a good human being, and be able to, I don't know, serve society and others better. So that's what this channel is about. So if you are interested by that, hit a subscribe, or I don't know, leave a comment, whatever, and stay in touch for next videos. So I see you soon. Bye.